Am I the a-hole for lashing out at my mom after receiving a phone call from my crying sister and panicking? Background. My mom and dad had 2 kids. My sister Jane, 16 female, and I, 21 female, before they got divorced. My mom since remarried a few years after and had my half-little sister, Cassie, 7 female. I was originally under her custody, but left due to toxic behavior from her and stepdad. Jane followed suit just this year. Recently, she came into my dad's place and started arguing with Jane. I got woken up by the screaming and called the cops on her. She then turned to me and started yelling at me, which caused me to have a panic attack. Cops came and called for paramedics for me, and then my mom would start crying and apologizing to me. Since then, I've been prone to attacks like that and have been socially withdrawn, barely eating or sleeping. Jane also blocked her number and cut all contact with her. The story in question. I was just watching Netflix when I suddenly get a phone call from my mom's house. I found it weird since I didn't block her. When I picked up the phone, Cassie was on the line. Cassie, sis, can you come home? I miss you. Sniffs. Me, Cassie, what's wrong? Cassie starts crying on the phone, and I felt my chest starting to tighten up. Me, is mom there? Did she call me for you? Cassie, yes, please come home. Me, I'll be right there, okay? See you later. Hangs up. After that call, I got super dizzy. My heart was pounding out my chest. I felt like I couldn't breathe and my ears were just ringing. My mom was living relatively close by, 5 to 10 minute walk, and I even puked halfway. When I got to her house, she greeted me excitedly and Cassie ran to the door to hug me. I tried being joyful in front of her and tried playing with her and her dolls, but I just kept spacing out. I just felt so numb and sick. I confronted my mom when Cassie was taking a nap, and I couldn't help but snap at her. Me, what the hell was the call about? Mom, what do you mean? And do not use that tone on me. Me, you could have just texted me to come by and visit Cassie or called me yourself. But no, you had to have her crying on the phone for me to come over. Mom, then how else am I gonna get you to come? You wouldn't listen to me. I was seeing red. I felt like my mom just used Cassie to get me to come back, and I had a full-blown panic attack right then and there and blacked out. I woke up in the ER and my dad told me that my mom called the ambulance. Later on, my mom texted me that Cassie woke up and watched me get wheeled away. She then said that I was selfish and egotistical, and that call was not a big deal and I didn't need to get so worked up about it, and that I scared Cassie. When I got back home, I overheard my stepdad yelling at my dad on the phone about how I was an a-hole for lashing out at my mom and scaring his daughter like that. Some of my friends think I am the a-hole for talking to her that way, and others think I'm not due to the toxic track record. So, am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole, but you'll be an A to yourself if you keep in contact with her. She's manipulative, narcissistic, and abusive. She's literally the reason you had to go to the hospital in an ambulance. Twice. Go to the hospital in an ambulance twice. Not the a-hole. They literally blamed you for her horrific actions, causing you to have to go to the hospital twice. Cut all contact with them. You can figure out how to save Cassie later on. I'm glad your dad is standing up for you. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It's unfortunate for Cassie, but you need to go no contact for your own mental and physical health. She's shown she's not above using manipulation on a child to get you do her bidding, and this will not change. And the worst part? Little sister's also learning that if you manipulate people, her case fake and crying. Jeez, what a mess. Not the a-hole, but you should go no contact with mom, stepdad, and Cassie. Yes, Cassie is a child and doesn't deserve it. But your mom will continue to weaponize her against you. What's more important to you? Your mental health or Cassie? That's mostly what's kept me stuck. I usually have playdates with her and it's nice and all. It's just some days I would feel like I can't get out of bed, let alone talk or call, so that's why I feel like the a-hole. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I don't owe him an explanation? My dad and I, 23 female, usually have a decent relationship. Not perfect, not bad either though. He and my mom divorced when I was 5, and for the first year custody was split, and then he had to move due to his job, which meant we went to every other weekend with more time during the summer or when he could get time off. Around 10, My mom started working a lot more and I would spend time at a friend's house. Then once I was 13, I started spending most of the time home alone. My dad by then was married again and had 2 of my half-siblings. He would ask if I wanted to spend more time there. He didn't know about me spending so much time alone because he knew his wife was not my favorite person. And he was hoping that a few hours here and there during the week would bring us closer. But I wasn't interested. My issues with her lay on how I felt she had no interest in listening to me and only cared about how it looked. Not that she didn't actually want a relationship with me. I know she did. The thing was, I had no interest in trying to bond with someone who didn't listen to me. It was stuff like she would call time with me a mommy and daughter date, and she would say me and my sister were the image of her, and stuff like that. It annoyed the crap out of me because I have a mom and she was not her. But when I told her I didn't like it, she would say that it wasn't hurting anybody. Anyway, I ended up struggling when I hit 16 and kept my dad out of the fact I felt so lonely. I told my mom a year later and she switched positions in her company and we went to therapy together. My dad found out about this because of some personal issues I have with a former friend of mine. She knew this stuff about me at the time, and because she was pissed that we were no longer friends, she told my dad how I had spent all those days after school in the house on my own because I didn't want to be with his wife, etc. And he was upset and pissed that I wouldn't tell him, so he could have pushed me harder to be at his house. He wanted to know why. I told him I didn't owe him any answers, that if he thought back to when I aired my issues with his wife, that he would know the answer, and I wasn't willing to go back through it all again. Because we did talk about it extensively when he wanted to know why I wasn't closer to his wife. He told me it wasn't fair, he's still my dad, etc. I told him I didn't want to fight him on it. And the way things were back then is how I preferred them, and I have no regrets. He's still pissed I won't talk to him through it all again though. He thinks I should be willing to sit down and discuss it with him, maybe with his wife, so they can figure out why I'd have chosen what I did over being with her. Am I the a-hole? You seem very angry, and you also seem to have a reason to be. Your dad also has a reason to be hurt. It appears like he was trying to have a relationship with you all along and you turned him down. If he had pushed you, that could have made you turn away from him even more for not respecting your boundaries. But it does seem like your stepmother didn't respect your boundaries, and he should have helped and protected you. I think you are both angry and upset. Both have reason to be hurt, and I hope that you can work something out for both your sakes. No a-holes here. I mean, I had a relationship with him, a pretty decent one. It's just he was never going to be there in those times he wanted me at the house after school. It would be his wife and kids. Had he been there, I might have chosen to go. Not a a-hole. What he wants, it sounds like, is for you to admit you were wrong so he can be right, and you will owe his wife a relationship. You don't. You're not wrong, and you already told him once, and he refused to listen. I mean, you said to her, essentially, "This bothers me because I have a mother I love and you are not her." And her response was that it's not hurting anyone. That matters. Meanwhile, you were standing right there. Of course you didn't want a relationship with her. Of course you didn't want someone you love trying to convince you to do so. Not wanting to rehash something like that until, if you're ready, is an acceptable boundary. Your therapist may have helpful suggestions on how to set that boundary firmly. Not a a-hole. Your stepmother made you uncomfortable by trying to force a relationship. You discussed it previously, at length, with your father, and he did nothing. It's been several years, so he can't do anything to change the past. Now that his image of the perfect family has been destroyed, he's throwing a tantrum. You are correct. You don't owe him anything. And you have the relationship you want with your family. You probably should have told your mom about being lonely earlier, but hindsight is 20/20. I hope you feel better. At the time, I didn't want her to lose what she had worked so hard for. My mom was in a job she loved after years, and considering she was a black woman from a poor family growing up, didn't finish high school, I was so damn happy for her. So damn lonely too. But I really wanted to try not take from all the work she had put in. The only reason I told her is because it got so bad I knew I had to tell someone, and I knew my mom was my biggest support person. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister-in-law out after criticizing my parenting? My sister-in-law was in town, so she came with me to pick my 3-year-old up from daycare to surprise him. My husband usually does pickup since it's close to his work, but I stayed late to donate blood and volunteer with a company blood drive. We're in the Y phase of toddlerhood, so there were of course questions. Some backstory. I have a lot of health issues stemming from a massive hemorrhage and resulting organ failure while delivering my son. It was extremely traumatic. I now advocate for maternal health care and I'm very open about my story. I also don't want it to be a secret for my son. If we normalize talking about it now in age-appropriate terms, I feel like there won't be an opportunity for him to feel guilty about the situation when he's grown. Back to daycare pickup. My son asks why daddy isn't doing pickup. I explain that he's donating blood and helping other people do the same. Cue the whys. Because daddy is giving blood to help people. Why? Because daddy feels like it's really important to give blood. Why? Because when the doctors took you out of my belly, mommy got sick. And other nice people gave mommy their blood because I needed it. And on and on. My sister-in-law was mortified and kept trying to change the subject. I obliged because a lot of people get up uncomfortable talking about blood, but my curious child kept bringing the subject back up. After my son was put to bed, my sister-in-law cornered me ranting and yelling about how inappropriate that conversation was, and how my son should be shielded from the reality of his birth. And it's horrible of me to put that on him, and he should never have known. And what does her brother think of his son being emotionally manipulated by me in this way? And I am an awful mother for putting that on him. I told her that my husband and I are in agreement about how to talk about that subject with my son, that because it's my trauma, my husband leaves it up to me to share or not share, but supports the open approach. And how we choose to parent is none of her business. She continued to blow up until my son woke up, at which point I asked her to leave my house and not contact us again unless it was to apologize. She packed her stuff and drove 2 hours to a friend's house, in the opposite direction from her home, 5 hours the other way. My husband is now getting blown up by family about what a witch I was and I was out of line, forcing her on the street and to drive in the middle of the night to her friend's house. My husband agrees that his sister was wrong, but thinks it could have been handled better, or I could have at least waited until morning to tell her to leave. Am I the a-hole for how I handled my sister-in-law? And am I an a-hole for how I'm handling the subject of my son's birth? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I think your son was far more traumatized by his aunt acting like a lunatic rather than your calm, accurate answers. She yelled and screamed till he woke up and still wouldn't stop. She needed to go right then. I wouldn't allow her back, and I'd be just as honest with other people about how her behavior is damaging for your son and you won't allow it. You did everything right here. Poor kiddo must have been so scared to be woken up like that. Good job protecting him from the crazy lady, mama. Tell anyone who thinks otherwise they're welcome to have her over if they enjoy that kind of behavior. You're not blaming your child for anything. You're actually shielding him from feeling like the bad guy when he grows up. Oh crap, I did this to mommy. Is it gonna be a thing when he's old enough? Because you're like, yes, this happened. Yes, it was a byproduct of bringing you into this world. But I still don't care because I have you. That is the kind of thing a real parent does. Letting your kid know you don't hold that against them is huge and you're a good parent for it. Tell sister-in-law and the rest of the family to butt out. You owe them nothing, especially if that's how they treat your hospitality. Not a day-hole. Bingo. Our daughter was born less than 2 pounds and 8 weeks early due to a placenta/umbilicus issue and was delivered by emergency C-section. At no time did we lie to our daughter or conceal this from her. We always explained it factually at a level that was appropriate for her age at the time. It's just some stuff that happened. In general, don't lie to your child. They are way more resilient than we give them credit for. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she is a bad parent for not punishing my sister? I, 14 female, suffer from depression and dissociation, so I take antidepressants. I leave the bottle sitting on my counter in my bathroom since that is my space. However, yesterday morning, I woke up and they were not there. I panicked since I need to take them in the morning and I had school. I ended up going to school without them and spent the entire day in a panic since I don't know where they could be. Later that night, while at home, I walked in on my sister filming a TikTok holding my medication bottle. I screamed at her for taking them and she started crying. I told my mom what she was doing, and it turns out my sister had been filming a video about her talking about her depression and how it affected her. I was disgusted since my sister did not have any mental issues we were aware of. But my mother told her not to do that, and that's it. I asked if she was going to do anything, but she said that my sister was a kid, so it was just a learning moment to tell her to stop. I called her an awful mother for letting that slide as if it were nothing and leaving me with extreme anxiety all day. She took away my phone for the night and told me to be respectful. I don't think I did anything wrong, since that is awful to do in both their parts. But my sister has been saying I'm overreacting, and my mom still does nothing and says I need to calm down since it caused no harm. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, my sister is 12 and she is one of the reasons I have developed my depression due to sibling mistreatment. Sorry for not adding more info. Not a a-hole. Your sister is awful and your mother is an awful mother. It's telling what she saw worthy of punishment. Evidently, she values her own ego over your well-being. Well, you can punish your sister yourself. You've seen her TikTok account, right? Expose her. While Opie was not wrong, her sister should have been punished hands down. It's not ever going to go well for the kid when a teenager yells at their parents. Opie needs to follow up with her mom, or maybe talk to her dad about it later in a calm fashion. It may not make any difference, but she got punished because of a disrespectful attitude. Maybe a better conversation will help deal with this issue. I understand she's only 14 and her mom is totally out of line, but Opie is going to have to be her own advocate in a mature manner. It's not fair, but life usually isn't. Not day-hole. You don't steal other people's medication, even for a joke, and definitely not to serve as a prop in a bloody TikTok video. Your mother is a serious a-hole for allowing your sister to get away with that crap. Not day-hole. I'm going to be brutally honest here. Your sister is a prick for stealing your meds and using them as a prop for fake internet points. Your mom is either incredibly ignorant or apathetic by doing next to nothing to stop your sister, and then excusing it as a learning experience while punishing you for standing up for yourself. I hope things get better, Opie. And if you can find somewhere safe for you to store your meds, that would be best to prevent this from ever happening. Not day-hole. Caused no harm? You were without your medication for a day. That can cause major side effects from some medication if you aren't careful. What if it had been for your heart? Would you say that then? And what if she took one? Taking meds not prescribed by your doctor can also be really dangerous. Your mom absolutely needs to punish your sister. Otherwise, she will think it's okay to do it again.